17, a man from Tennessee. Overseas to the trenches he went, from the land of the free. Into war he brought two things along, a rifle and his faith. Joined the ranks as a private assigned to 338. There, on that day, hell in York, entered the fray, saving the day, 82nd all the way. Into the fires of hell they are gone, a hero to be. Enter the wall from over the sea. Intervene 1918, all the way from Tennessee into 123. Has been put to the test, the call to arms he heeds. On the 8th of October he went, made a sergeant for his deeds. Fearlessly in the raid of the war, machine gun on the hill. Chase the enemy, taking the prisoners by power of his will. There, on the day, Sergeant York entered the fray, saving the day. 82nd all the way. Into the fires of hell they are gone, a hero to be. Enter the wall from over the sea. Intervene 1918, all the way from Tennessee into 123. What Sergeant York achieved that day would echo to the USA. It's 82nd all the way, and from above what they now say. What Sergeant York achieved that day echoes from France to the USA. It's 82nd all the way, and from above what they now say.
Okay, good morning, everybody. It is July 4th on the 6th, July 6th, 2024. It's Larsen Halleck. How's everybody doing? We opened up with, indeed, Pony Throat was correct, Sabaton's 82nd All the Way, a song about Sergeant Alvin York of the United States Marines. Yes, nothing like a song sung by a bunch of Swedes to make me feel vaguely patriotic about the United States. Why can I not find any decent American songs? I don't know. It is a truism, but yeah, it really is true. Nobody hates Americans the way Americans hate themselves. But yes, how are we all doing? I hope you all had a good 4th of July. I introduced my beautiful South African bride to American barbecue with some homemade sauce. I New Jersey the hell out of that pronunciation. And yeah, she liked it. She says brie is better. I dispute this, but, you know, we shall see. I'm, of course, open to all cultures and things of that ilk. Robert Diaz says, good day, Sir America. Indeed. And because it was the 4th of July, this is, of course, the annual, shitlibs staggering about, waddling in a haze of self-hatred and self-loathing about the United States, because, of course, they do. It's what they do every year. That is very much I would honestly say, the dominant cultural paradigm nowadays. And can't say I agree with it. I mean, I'm not some blind, patriot, because that's certainly not true at all. But nor do I agree with the people who just stagger on going, I hate America. We have nothing to be proud of. I don't think that's right either. Acknowledge America's faults and its failings, but also acknowledge the good. I mean, personally, I think that a country that has more Nobel Prizes than any other nation on earth has something to be proud of, but, what do I know? Okay. C-Punk Messiah says, I'm doing okay. I just revisited the Mulan soundtrack, and boy howdy, I'll make a man out of you makes my testosterone surge. Yes. It's kind of funny how a chick flick has a really good training montage song. I'm surprised no one's done a metal cover of that. I'm sure somebody has. I just haven't been asked to look for it. Robert Diaz says, 99% of countries have at least one skeleton in their closet. Yes, well said. And of course, I certainly don't approve of what America's doing now. We're going into a nice Soviet-esque gerontocracy. But, I do still think we have much to be proud of. And, I will rep that. Ponythroat says, Larsen made some sauce to go with his pat roast. It was ribs, actually, but yes, I did make some sauce. And my sauce was very good. Yes, I hope we all had a good 4th of July. Yeah, there was a lot of, I have been noticing I get a lot of, communist accounts on my Twitter feed. There's nothing I love more than, some guy with a hammer and sickle lecture me about, slavery and mass killings, as if communist countries didn't do, 20 times as much of that as the United States did. But never mind that. Also, something that went a bit viral was a Canadian comic strip where the punchline was, well, at least we're not, thank God we're not America. And this was, very much the epitome of the smug passive aggressiveness that is 90% of Canada's national identity, to the point where even fellow Canadians were like, dude, you need to chill out a bit. I mean, I wasn't particularly offended by it, because, breaking news. Canada has no national identity beyond being smug and pissy towards the United States. Also new, also in the news, I should say, the sky is blue. But yes, it's nice listening to Sabaton, listen to a song about the heroic deeds of Alvin York of Tennessee, to remind me of a time when America was certainly not perfect, but, it functioned and it was good. And then I look at America now and I get really, really depressed. I know America was not perfect in the past. I know about racism and segregation. I also know there weren't, screaming brappies on every street corner. And, the subways look like goddamn art museums instead of just pee-soaked heck holes, as The Simpsons would so kindly put it. Yeah, I hope you had some fun. Now let's go look at why America sucks now. It sure does. Okay, so first of all, in FBI news, exclusive from Headline USA, interviews and newly unearthed records reveal an FBI program to stage neo-Nazi rallies under then-director Robert Mueller. This is the subject of part 1 of the hidden history of Robert Mueller's right-wing terror factory. Well, geez, I could have told you that. I mean, those flags at the neo-Nazi, totally not fed rallies, they sure did look, freshly creased, almost as if they were just taken out of the package that morning. My, those are some really clean and stiff Confederate flags and Nazi flags you have there. But yes, I'm absolutely shocked that this happened. I hate to Fed post and accuse everybody who says something mildly disagreeable as being a federal agent, but, sometimes they are federal agents. Okay. Of course, we all know that famous neo-Nazis like Hal Turner were FBI informants. In 2005, there was testimony from a former National Socialist Movement member who alleged that the FBI organized a neo-Nazi rally in Toledo. Overall, the NSM, the National Socialist Movement, is an FBI front group, founded in 1975. I mean, look, I know this is a lot of what the FBI does. They basically set up these little front groups or try to sell bomb-making materials to, absolute chuds and troglodytes and try to goad them into doing a terrorism or doing a hate crime. And then they arrest them and say, hey, look, we stopped the terrorisms. I don't know. There's something, maybe just because I have a long history of being a wagey, but there's nothing I find more detestable than like creating work for yourself, just bullshit work, and then like patting yourself on the back for solving your fake problem. It's kind of like lighting a garbage can on fire and then putting out the fire and saying, hey, look, I'm a firefighter. I mean, most of the people who would join, like, a neo-Nazi movement or try to make a pipe bomb, these are guys who would basically, if you didn't goad them into doing it, they'd basically just sit in their shitty trailer park whacking off for their entire lives. But no, we have to justify our budgets and have them do some shit. But yeah, imagine my shock. Okay. Narahari Kamath says, what do you think of the debate? I did talk about the absolute state of American gerontocracy last week. It's not good. Didn't Joe Biden say, like, I'm going to beat Trump in 2020? Like, the guy doesn't even know what year it is. And then they're trying to, like, maybe kind of put Kamala Harris into the, presidential slot. I keep hearing rumors about Biden dropping out. Nothing's been confirmed yet. But that's going to be a problem if they nominate Kamala, because literally nobody likes her, not even black people. And, as Tim Dillon put it, she talks in, like, gypsy fables, and no one understands what the hell this woman's saying. Pony Throat says, on the 4th of July, I was laying down pavement slabs. They were not slathered in barbecue sauce, but they should have been. Well, I'm sorry you had to work, sir. And even me, I had a couple of music lessons to teach. I mean, that's obviously not the hard work of, laying down concrete, but it's work nonetheless. I mean, like I said, I've been a wagey. I've moved furniture in the hot sun. I put down roofing tiles in the hot sun. I don't envy the grunt wagey life, to be quite honest. C Punk Messiah says, I've been hearing talks of something called Project 2025, and it's got people scared as hell. Yes, I've also heard such a thing. Ponythroat says, you don't find real far-right extremists in rallies, you find them in the Morrowind fandom. Yes. Yep, it's, you want to find the real, hardcore right-wingers, go play Hearts of Iron or The Elder Scrolls. Narahari Kamath says, yeah, Kamala's just a bag of giggles. Yes, she is. She's America's delightful drunken wine aunt. And her stepdaughter looks like she's cosplaying as all 4 main cast members from Seinfeld simultaneously. Ponythroat says Kamala will be disappointed. Yesterday, Biden said he was a black woman. Well, I mean, we don't know. I mean, you can identify as whatever you want to be nowadays. Robert Diaz says, I'm still waiting on Kamala's plan to fix the southern border from 3 years ago. Yeah, that would be nice. It would be nice if, our ruling class doesn't want a, Sudra class of untouchable peasants to do slave labor, but, what do I know? I don't blame the illegal immigrants for wanting to take advantage of, better opportunity. I blame the corporations and the business owners for hiring them. If we just prosecuted them and made it impossible for an illegal immigrant to, get a job, or let's be honest, get bennies, because most of them aren't looking for work, most of them would go home on their own. But, doing something sensible is not possible nowadays. But yeah, shit sucks. My wife was legitimately concerned a couple days ago because I was just seeming really depressed. And she was like, Larsen, why are you so sad? Well, my darling, it's because I go on Twitter, I'm just bombarded with how much this country is going to shit. And kind of hard to celebrate otherwise. And speaking of problems in America, according to the New York Times, just a couple days ago, the First Amendment is out of control. This is an opinion essay. We have too much freedom of speech, and that's not good. We need to stifle it. No, I don't think the First Amendment is out of control. We don't have enough First Amendment, to be quite honest. Any speech that does not directly cause harm to people should be allowed. Yeah, I'm a free speech absolutist. I'm sorry if I'm a radical, MAGA extremist or whatever. But, yeah, that's what I've always felt. First Amendment's out of control. No, Tim Wu. The First Amendment is not out of control. We don't have enough free speech. Yeah, the danger to democracy comes when people can speak their minds freely. Let's check out some comments here. Nothing. Nobody's made any new comments, and that's okay. But yes, I don't approve of the New York Times' idea of limiting free speech. See, how can you defend the... I don't know, it's like, how can you really expect any reform to happen in this country when you have people who are literally spitting upon one of the founding ideals of the country? The idea of free speech. But in times like this, I can take a step back and say, hey, at least we're not the UK. Because in the UK, Warwickshire, a British man was sentenced to 4 months in prison over a toy sword. It's the Master Sword from The Legend of Zelda. This is literally, it's literally about 7 inches long. It is a toy. I don't even think it's made out of metal. He went to prison for it. Yeah, America sucks, but listen, we don't put people in prison over little toy swords. I mean, geez, when I was a little kid, I had a letter opener that looked like a rapier. It was actually made of metal. Like, I would have gotten life if I lived in Britbong land. Oi, mate, got a license for your toy sword? One wonders how these people conquered a quarter of the globe. Hey, Robert Diaz says, hate speech has been deemed by the left as any speech that opposes their viewpoints. Indeed. Narahari Kamath says, yet. Not sure what he's referring to yet, but, maybe it's the free speech thing. Maybe it's Englishmen being arrested for toy swords. Who knows? This is not the first time that the English police have arrested somebody over a sword that is clearly from a work of fiction. I remember there was an arrest. There was a raid on a man's house because he owned a botleth, which is the Klingon sword from Star Trek. I mean, that's like... Do British police officers not watch, or consume any media at all? Like, do you not recognize these things? I've asked this question about American police as well, but when exactly did police officers become these complete sniveling poltroons? I mean, do they not like? Is there not some way to test somebody having a pair of testicles when you join the police force? Like, do they not do like boxing or hand-to-hand combat training? I mean, that'll reveal who's a man and who's not pretty damn quick when you're getting your face pounded in. But what can we do? The Anglosphere is in a competition to see who can hit the bottom of the toilet first. But not to be outdone by the Anglosphere, and also speaking of swords, in France, Roland's sword, Durandal, was stolen. It's been in there for 1,300 years, and it was stolen. A literal national treasure, and the namesake of several swords and several JRPGs has been taken. Okay, they got this French headline here, L'épée Durandal encastrée dans la roche. I don't speak French. Yeah, it's embedded in the rock. There's a chain on it, and somebody just yoinked it. Somebody in the Twitter thread asks, maybe it was taken by somebody who would be the true king of France. I don't believe Durandal has that kind of prophecy attached to it. I don't even shit. I never actually read the entire Song of Roland. I know that Roland like blows his horn so hard his head explodes. I guess his sword just kind of got buried in the rock there. Some people are trying to take the white pill, saying that this may lead to the rebirth of a Charlemagne-esque figure in Europe. I mean, let's hope so, but I doubt it. Now, as other people have pointed out, this is in fact a replica. The real sword of Roland is kept probably in some national library or some such, but it's a matter of principle. Christians are good and Saracens are bad, said Roland as he charged into battle, and I'm going to wager it had something to do with that as to why it was stolen. Because you can't let the Saracen feel bad about himself. Also, the actual quote that I butchered is pagans are wrong and Christians are right. Yes, the medieval Franks, being that it was the Dark Ages, they didn't really understand the tenets of the Islamic religion. They were under the impression that they were polytheistic. And the Song of Roland portrays them as such. They were not. Okay, looking at the comments here, Robert Diaz referring to the unfortunate Englishman. He got popped for ordering a metal replica. The UK passed laws against zombie knives. They called Link's sword a zombie knife. I mean, the thing was literally like not even a foot long. It honestly looks like a letter opener. It wasn't even bigger than the ruler it was being measured against. So I don't even think you could use it as a knife. And the only knife Link uses is the Giant's knife, which is a broken sword, actually. And yeah, I'm calling the Kokiri sword a short sword. It's like a Bowie knife. It's not really a knife per se. Narahari Kamath says American citizens don't go to prison for toy swords yet. I mean, there's certainly people who want that. I mean, Ponythroat asks, how will he fight Ganon now? He probably would have gotten the chair if he had Bigoron's sword. Yes, indeed. The Twitter thread had multiple tweets of, like, I don't know, some cartoon where Ganondorf is, like, dancing around in celebration now that he can't be defeated. Well, good for him, I suppose. I will refrain from making the obvious joke about how the British might welcome a swarthy desert man conquering them now at this point. Okay. Dave Slankovich asked, what were we celebrating on the 4th? Do people even know? I mean, ostensibly it's independence. In practice, I had a nice barbecue and dreamed about restoring this country to its former greatness. I mean, all I'm saying is America in the past was not perfect, but we put up the Empire State Building and the Hoover Dam in 1 year. We built the biggest interstate highway system the world has ever seen. We put men on the moon. Now California has been standing around for 15 years with its thumb up its ass trying to do high-speed rail, and that's never happening, ever. Ponythroat says the Englishman was arrested for carrying the knife over X number of inches in public. The item itself is not illegal. I mean, I'm just kind of pointing and laughing at the fact that it's literally a toy sword that he got arrested for. But yeah, Roland got in the shorts today. As did wasn't it Illusion of Gaia on the Super Nintendo where like you could get Durandal as a sword? Or was it Secret of Mana? I don't remember. It was some Super Nintendo game. I definitely remember Durandal was a sword. Okay, well, there's Marathon, the PC game where you can get Durandal. Hey, sorry, I gotta look this up for a second here. Okay, Fire Emblem had Durandal, Ogre Battle, Marathon, etc., etc. I really should get to playing Fire Emblem at some point. Really don't know why I never got around to that. Okay. But no, Biff, we don't really know what we're celebrating. As we slide into Soviet-style gerontocracy and a narco-tyranny, it's definitely not liberty and independence, that's for damn sure. Okay, moving on. See what else we have here. Let's stay in France for a second. You know, first Durandal was taken. And then also, this also ties into, the Grand Alliance between England and France. A Gabriel Milland, who's some, Anglo-Norman, aristocratic ponce. I am not going to pretend like I know anything about the intricacies of the British class structure. He says, that awkward moment when you discover the idyllic bit of rural France where you booked the lovely Gite, I don't know what the hell that is, for the summer, just voted massively for the fascists. Yes, he booked a nice vacation to a lovely spot in the French countryside, and the people are all voting Le Pen. Yeah, that is a problem. Who would have thought that rural farmers tend to be a bit conservative? The Vendée still lives. Now, those are reactionaries, the Thermidorians. They had some nice drip, I'm not going to lie. This, of course, is, the age-old hatred for rural yokels that urban sophisticates have always had. But, this right here, this kind of illustrates, like, the magic dirt idea. It's like, oh, this is a nice place, but, the people here, they're bad. What if we just replace them? Then it'll still be a nice place with better people. Not considering for a second that maybe those places are nice because the people gatekeep them. Yeah, he hates the fascists, quote unquote, and then he chooses to go on holiday around them instead of going to, I don't know, Paris, the City of Lights, hanging out with all the, screaming brappies and car bonfires. It's a mystery why he did that. Alpha Marigi says, referring to Fire Emblem, I probably wouldn't like the newer ones. Why not? Maybe start with Shadow Dragon or FE1. I mean, I was going to start with, like, the first one. Like a sensible person. And yes, I was very much of that generation who played Super Smash Bros. Melee, and I was like, who the fuck is Marth? Nobody knew who Marth was. We had to look him up. Alright, I'm going to briefly look up Fire Emblem here. I want to talk more about the video later on. Okay. Okay, the first games were on the Famicom. Okay, Fire Emblem 1 was in 1990, starring Marthy Boy and Arcania. Okay, yeah, I will definitely have to look into Fire Emblem. Seapunk Messiah says apparently back during World War II, the British elites agreed with the Nazis. Well, some of them did, certainly. Like Edward VIII and Wallace Simpson. That's neither here nor there. Ponythroat says, and then one day, for no reason at all, Le Pen was elected. Yeah, with regards to the British thing, it always makes me laugh. And they're like, yeah, well, actually, Hitler was inspired by Manifest Destiny. Motherfucker, Hitler literally tried to ally with the British multiple times. He never once tried that with the United States. And yes, I know about Lothrop Stoddard and the eugenicists who, published books that the Nazis read. I know that. Robert Diaz says, Fire Emblem for the GameCube is big money. And Alpha Maria says he liked Fire Emblem 2. Ponythroat says, Fire Emblem had barely any presence in the GameCube era in the West. Yeah, like literally the first time anybody in the West knew about Fire Emblem was when Marth and Roy showed up in Super Smash Brothers. The first, the first one that was released in the West is apparently Fire Emblem The Blazing Blade on the Game Boy in 2003. So it was during that generation. And I know there was one on the Wii and stuff. Which, I went to a retro game store, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Ponythroat says, the British would have voted for Oswald Mosley if his flag didn't look like a lame 1950s superhero emblem. Yeah, that's probably true. Where even was I? Oh, yes, rural France. Very nice. And the people there like to keep it that way. They don't want screaming brappies, and that's a problem, apparently. Now let's bring things back to America and how much things suck here. Something I've been noticing a lot is people are denying the moon landing. Like alleged right-wing influencer Candace Owens. She's apparently going full, like, flat earth, religious lunatic, which is a bit of a problem. I mean, as I've said, I do like America despite its flaws, and I wish it could do better. But the moon landing is arguably not only our greatest achievement as a nation, but arguably one of the greatest achievements in civilizational history. And to deny it, that is, you are a bad person, and your opinion should be disregarded. There are still people who say, like, oh, the space programs are waste. We should use that money to feed endless hordes of brappies. People who believe that, you're a spiritual peasant. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. People who deny the moon landing, they're even worse. They're spiritual homeless people. They are spiritual dumpster divers eating rotten food out of a McDonald's dumpster spiritually. They're bad people, and they should be entirely disregarded. I mean, not that I would regard any, conservative thought anyway. That's neither here nor there. Let's see. All right, let's keep things a little lighter. We're still in the more or less serious news. We're not talking big politics. We're going to Italy. Italian prosecutors have just uncovered that the Dior fashion house pays only $57 in labor and materials to produce bags they retail for $2,780. The bags are made by literal, illegal Chinese immigrants who are forced to work in sweatshops in basically slave-like conditions. It is really bad. I mean, I'm pretty sure we all had a vague idea that it was something like this. We all had some idea that it was basically going to be some ridiculously huge markup that they were doing on bags, but wow, 57 versus 2780. Let's do a little bit of mathematics here. That is a 48-to-1 ratio markup. So that's 4,877% markup. I mean, I do have to admire the sheer audacity of such a thing. But, yeah, you shouldn't be buying that crap anyway. I mean, luxury fashion houses are hot garbage to begin with. I still have visions of the, Balenciaga Hellraiser thing, like people tromping around in mud pits. Like, I mean, that's what passes for haute couture nowadays. Hey. Alpha Marie says Blazing Blade on the Game Boy is Fire Emblem 7. Alpha Marie says the Wii one is a sequel to the GameCube one. The super expensive GameCube one. Yeah, we're going to talk about super expensive GameCube games, again, towards the end of the stream. Ponythroat says, what about people who deny that the moon exists? Or otherwise have very unconventional ideas about the cosmos? Would Armstrong and Gagarin knock their teeth out? I mean, they should. For me, the biggest evidence of the moon landing is the simple fact that countries that despise us, like Russia and China, they both acknowledge that it was real. When, if they had the opportunity to do so, don't you think they would have? I mean, they would have loved to seize the opportunity to humiliate us on the international stage if we faked it. The fact that they didn't and instead acknowledged that it was real, that more than anything shows me that it is real. I don't know how you can literally deny that the moon exists. Like, Groog look up at Sky Cookie. What is? Unga Bunga? Like, what? Yes, there's also people who have unconventional ideas about the cosmos. Well, I mean, the firmament, bro. Ponythroat asks, it's silly to think that a bag could ever be sold for that much. Is it made of gold? No, it has an Italian name on it. And it says it's made in Italy. Yes, it is made in Italy by illegal immigrant slave laborers. Yes, haute couture is garbage. Pass it on. Speaking of the Mediterraneans, from The Guardian, Greece introduces a growth-oriented 6-day working week. I don't know if this is for everybody or if it's just for, federal employees. Yeah, they're trying to force people to work 6 days a week to ensure economic growth. A tweet says it best. I'm sure the Greek people will take this well. Hey, Stavros, you got to work 6 days now instead of 5. Nico, I don't even have a job. Neither do I. Mwah, 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 mwah. Oh, what would happen if, if maybe Greece will become a real country again someday? Yeah, remember when we thought in the 90s that, like, computerization and mechanization would mean we would work less hours and have more time to ourselves? Yeah, that didn't happen. Okay. Alpha Marigi says it is a hologram or something, referring to this moon theory. Earth, known as Vok at the time, had two moons. One was a research satellite that exploded. The moon. For several years now, she has fascinated many. So I looked up Vok. Vok is an Icelandic dream pop and indie-tronic band from Reykjavik. The band was formed in January 2013 by singer Margaret Magnus Dottir and saxophonist Andre Enochson. 2 years of working together. Yeah, good to know. Vok is also a distillery, and it's also a type of air conditioner. It's a village in Bratislava, Slovakia. VOK is vocal and keyboard music from Westchester University. Clearly, I'm not looking in the right spot here. Let's look up Vok theory. Okay, there's a lot of theories about some kind of transformer named Vok. Maybe I should not go down this rabbit hole because I feel like it's going to make me very stupid very fast. Okay. Okay, so I guess Alpha Marie was referring to the transformer thing. It was a Beast Wars reference. I never really watched Beast Wars, I'm not going to lie. I know people say it's better than the OG Transformers, but I just never got around to it. See, do I have anything more real news to talk about? Let me just open up all my notes and bookends here. I don't think so, to be honest. Okay. Let's see. Let me just check one more time. Like I'm missing something. Actually, no, I don't think I am. So yeah, let's get right to the silly side of things. The lighter news to take our minds off the hellscape we live in. Speaking of Nintendo games, the famous Gulf War Game Boy has been retired. The one that took a hand grenade in Desert Storm. The shell melted and suffered burn damage, but it still works. Say what you will about Nintendo's creative vision, I certainly have, but yeah, they've always made really solid hardware. It was on display at the Nintendo World Store in New York City, but has now been moved to Nintendo of America HQ in Redmond, Washington. So, personally, I think that this should be like a shining exemplar of how to make good hardware. If you take a presumably Soviet hand grenade, it's good enough for me. Okay. Shinseki Evans says, Beast Wars is okay, it's not better than the OG. Ponythroat says, Beast Stars is the best animated TV on the Sega Saturn. Alpha Maria says it's more coherent than the OG. And Alpha Maria says Joy-Cons are not the most durable. Yeah, well, they're not all good. But, we always hear the stories about, like, Wii remotes being used to, like, break through televisions and stuff. So, Again, Nintendo hardware has always been good. Right? So, if we go to Collider, speaking of people who talk about games very poorly, they have an article about the backlash over the new Star Wars show, The Acolyte. Their solution? The biggest problem with Star Wars is the fans. Yep, that's a winning formula. You make a piece of crap show, people complain about it, then you blame them. That's how you win the fans. That's how you do it. I guess Amanda Stenberg's angry, ass flapping didn't help anything. I don't know why people haven't given up on Star Wars like a long time ago. It really hasn't been good since 1983. I mean, the mainline stuff, like some of the extended universe stuff is pretty cool, but when you have like a 20-year track record of being utter shite, 25-year track record, you got to know when to cut the leash at some point. Something vaguely related, but also something I should have talked about, bridging the gap between the funny and the serious stuff. A Twitter post from Derivatives Monk, Monke, says, "The biggest red flag a man can have is a hobby. I enjoy bowling on the weekends," in scare quotes. What a waste of time. Start a business instead. How does mastering the skill of bowling help your life in any way? Avoid people with hobbies at all costs. Hey, you hear that, Wagey? Don't have hobbies. Don't make friends. Don't do anything fun. Just make money and work all day, every day. That's what a real man does. Me. No, I don't think I will, actually. That is a stupid idea, and you should feel bad. Like, obviously, no, not every hobby, is something useful. I mean, I do make a little money off my hobbies, but, like, you can't just work all the time. You're going to go insane. Having fun is degenerate. You play with sticks and watch the paint dry. Me. Okay, yes, as somebody who did once write an article called "Stop Buying Plastic Crap," there are certain hobbies that are like better than others. Like if you go to the gym or you go bowling or go rock climbing or play guitar, those are hobbies that are, for lack of a better term, respectable. If your hobby is like collecting porcelain figurines of anime girls taking a dump on things, that's not so respectable. You should stop doing that. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with hobbies. I mean, I have hobbies like, I play music, I juggle, I play retro video, which I keep alluding to talking about at some point. I tried to do slacklining in California and I failed miserably at it. There's nothing wrong with having a hobby. Alpha Marigi says, look up Joy-Con Drift. Pony Throw, presumably referring to that, says Nintendo 64 stick has awful durability. Admittedly more of a design flaw than a quality issue. I mean, the ones I just sold this weekend seemed pretty good to me. Alpha Marigi says they should have dropped Star Wars after Episode 7 like I did. Then he says mockingly, real Aryan men stare at watching paint dry until they drop dead. Ponythroat says the only hobby men should have is giving me money. Yeah, that's probably what this guy's getting at. Game Boys are also prone to screen rot, a problem inherent to laminated LCDs. Testament to the build quality that more have not been destroyed, but they will in time. Well, yeah, again, if Game Boy casings could survive hand grenades, I think they're pretty good, all things considered. Yeah, like the old Game Boy Pocket that I, again, sold off, actually its little laminated screen did come off a long time ago, but the Game Boy Color was still hanging in there. So yeah, now that we're talking about this, I guess I could talk about the retro games. Yeah, so last week I went to my parents' house and I got some of my old video. Realizing that all these things could be properly emulated much easier, I decided to sell them off. I went to 2 stores. The first one was sold by some bald asshole who kind of huddled up with his loser, coworkers and kind of discussed, my crap. And then they just gave me kind of $500 straight up for Sega Genesis, NES, Nintendo 64, and some games. Also a Game Boy and a Game Boy Color. I mean, I feel like I could have gotten a little more, but I didn't want to go all around trying to nickel and dime people. Yeah, and then we went to another store and I sold some other stuff for about an additional $100 or so. And that guy was much nicer. We had a nice discussion about the video. That guy had he had stuff going back to the Vectrex and the ColecoVision and stuff in the original packaging. And speaking of original packaging, if I had kept my packaging in the instruction manuals, I could have made substantially more money, a few $1,000s. But alas, I didn't. I mean, I would advise any young kids today to keep your packaging, but let's be honest, nobody wants to play the games they have nowadays. Yeah, so in that second retro game store, I could have bought a copy of Eternal Darkness. It was $100, so I decided against it. Instead, I bought a copy of Dark Souls on the PlayStation 3 for $20. Yeah, so we were having a discussion with the guy, and he said, yeah, GameCube and Wii games and PS2, PS3 games are actually really hot right now. Which I guess is how you can justify jacking up the price on a 21-year-old game or whatever. And I thought about it, and why are these retro games so hot right now? It's because the new games suck. The new games are complete crap. And nobody wants to play them. Meanwhile, people are still playing the old games. People are still modding, ROMs of, Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, Doom, Duke Nukem. No one's going to be remembering Fortnite or, Lost Horizon or, Lesbian Golf Simulator 3000, whatever it is they're playing nowadays. No one will remember that in 2 years, I guarantee it. But the old games will persist. And, I predicted it. There's going to be a mad rush to retro and independent gaming. When people realize that the new games are hot garb. Hey. Alpha Marigi says, right-wing e-girl has ire for immigrants, minorities, and gays, but has endless sympathy for sluts and prostitutes. Yes. Timothy Adams says, I bought one of those new PS5 controllers which went gyro stupid in less than a month. A true waste of $75. I mean, all my retro systems, they were in good condition. The NES still worked, Genesis still worked, N64 still worked. Yeah, it was hard selling some of the games. Nobody wants to buy a copy of Tinhead for Genesis or NBA Live 1999 for Nintendo 64. I mean, they snapped up Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask pretty quick, all in excellent condition, might I add. I even have the Revision 1 Ocarina of Time, which has the Islamic chanting. Seapunk Messiah says Nintendo 64s are very durable. They got more fragile when they went to discs. Yes, I agree. Alpha Marigi says people keep the plastic cases, but not the cardboard boxes. Yeah, you got to keep the boxes and the manuals, and that's how you make the big bucks. Alpha Marigi says Nintendo should have done the proper boxes from the start. Yeah, they probably should have. Timothy Adams says the new games largely do great. I'm sorry, the new games largely suck greatly. Yeah, I read that wrong. He also says Eternal Darkness was a great game. Yeah, I've heard lots of good things about it. It would be nice if I could find a copy that wasn't double the retail price when it first came out. Ponythroat says Eternal Darkness sold badly, but it got good reviews and was only recognized later. That's a recipe for high prices. I suppose it is. I guess I'll have to bite the bullet at some point and buy it. Yeah, he also had a copy of Tales of Symphonia for $50. And Tales of Symphonia is a game I've been meaning to play for a long time. Because, like, when I was in high school, uh, like, my friend Matt, he was always talking about Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Symphonia. I just never got around to it. Ponythroat says the Nintendo 64 is probably the most reliable console. Solid state, with the exception of the crappy analog stick with its weird fragile mechanism. Yeah, the controller's not great. Seapunk Messiah asked, did I ever play Elden Ring? No. He says it's good. It made Ubisoft shit their pants and have a fit. Speaking of Ubisoft, my copy of Rayman 2, The Great Escape for Nintendo 64 sold pretty good. It's a delightful bit of French nonsense, and I think people resonate with that. Seabung Messiah says Beautiful Joe 1 and 2. I actually have Beautiful Joe 1 and 2. I don't remember if I sold it years ago. I think I might have. Yeah, that was a good game. Seabung Messiah also recommends Tales of Symphonia. Yeah, I'm gonna stick with my used games. I have no desire to play the AAA horseshit nowadays. Yeah, I'm playing through Hitman 2 on the the Wii, but it was on the GameCube originally. It's pretty good. It's I mean, it was like an early stealth game. It was innovative for the time. It's a little clunky, I'm not gonna lie, but hey, I'm 85% done with the game, and there's no point in stopping now. Timothy Adams says, I gave away a GameCube setup 15 years ago with a complete set of Resident Evil original games. Yeah, I didn't even know they remade Resident Evils 2 and 3 for the GameCube, but they did. I used to have Resident Evil 1 remake for the GameCube. That's neither here nor there. But yeah, ultimately I ended up buying a copy of Dark Souls on PS3, and I'm going to play through that eventually. I actually did want to replay Sleeping Dogs first. You know, once I beat Hitman 2, I'm going to unplug the Wii. Actually, okay, here's what my gaming schedule is going to be, for lack of a better term. I'm going to play through Hitman 2, and then I'm going to finish up with Smash Brothers Melee, unlock all the shit. Then, I'm going to unplug the Wii for a bit, put in the PS3, play Sleeping Dogs, and then Dark Souls. Ponythroat says, I recall Rayman 2 on the N64 being regarded as the worst version of a game that released on anything. I know, I thought it was pretty fun when I was a kid. Alpha Maria says you gotta play GameCube games on the Wii. That's what it's for, so it's backwards compatible. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of games that I never got around to playing that I'd like to play. First on the list is Eternal Darkness, of course. But, yeah. I think that'll just about do it for my prepared remarks. Shinseki Evan says, I can't part with the old systems. I love the old hardware. Yeah, I mean, the old hardware is good, but, you know, with emulation, you might as well just get rid of it. Because with, like, the old systems, you had to buy, like, adapters and crap for your TV. Doesn't work on the new LCD TVs. So, yeah, that does it for my prepared remarks. You can say your last pieces now if you want. Timothy Adams says, I missed it on the Wii. It looked like fun. Yeah, there were some good games on it. I never got around to playing Pikmin, or the second one for that matter, on the GameCube. I should probably look into those. I used to have a copy of Super Smash Bros. Brawl, which I know is in my parents' house somewhere. They just don't seem to be able to find it. Okay, so I think that'll do it for today. For Larsen Halleck, this has been Larsen Halleck. Wait, Seapunk Messiah says, who is your all-time Super Smash Bros. Main? Usually a toss-up between Link and Donkey Kong for me. Yeah, it's a toss-up between Link or Donkey Kong. Alpha Marigis says, most of the time I watch the fireworks on the roof. Last year I decided to go around the corner and find where the fireworks were coming from. Yeah, it's the traffic was hellacious around here, so we kind of, like where we are, we can just look out the window and see the fireworks. Okay, so I'll just kind of sit back for a second. Seapunk Messiah says Fox and Zelda are mine. Good choices. Alpha Marigi says it was just around the corner. There was a party on an intersection between an alley and a busy street. They're launching for the fireworks from an alley and all is well, but this year they fucked it up. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, sir. I'm sorry to hear that. Alpha Marigi goes on to describe how they put the fireworks launchers in the busy street. Well, that's not good. All right, and with that, I think I'll end the stream now. I don't know how they do things wrong when they got it right the first time, Alpha Marigi. Maybe they just got lucky the first time and they forgot how to do it. Hey, they're hunter-gatherers who forgot how to use fire. Anyway, for Larsen Halleck, this has been Larsen Halleck. All of you have a good day and enjoy the rest of your weekend.